Oh, oh, everybody in the chat. Well, back to the channel, and it's been ages since I've actually uploaded anything on the channel. So that this is also my grand on back on the channel, but as you can see, I've already got Cheryl in the chat. So as you can also already see, I'm not actually joined by Charlotte, my usual co-host, but there's a good reason for that. It's another sort of so in chat stream, so I've put all my friend on from the whole YouTube channel, and I've his channel in the chat at the top of the chat. So so yeah, so just before we get into more of the old sort of stuff in regards to some so um um just I'm slam a so is he
By the way, hello. Cheers for having me back on, Daniel. Sorry it's taken so long to do this again, but I saw a window of opportunity, a rare window of opportunity where I was off work and I didn't have my daughter today. So I was like, right, let's do this now. So yeah, thanks for having me on again, and hello Charlotte and everyone in the chat joining. How much I see? I actually, I was a glutton for punishment, and I actually watched it live, like all of it. Yeah, because I just got back into the pub, back from the pub, I should say, that night, and I was like, "There's something." Oh, it's SummerSlam, and I already had a few beers. So, yeah, let's watch it. So yeah, I sat through all of it. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, I caught up with the rest the next one, and because I usually start watching it and for all so during a show because of the because of the time of but yeah, I mean I enjoyed them I enjoyed them some yeah it's not as bad as not as bad as what's if you have suggested so was, but yeah, I'm particularly happy about the I'm particularly happy about the oil result, and also the passion of EOS. Because as you've probably already seen, and was was are the was in the was um was that I'm enjoying at the moment, and yeah, and also as well as a couple of things that actually annoyed me as well about the show, the whole um 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 a whole sort of um a whole sort of odds um mm, mm, I still do not see what people will see and what the roads are all as you've probably already gathered by now.
I have about, but yeah, carry on. No, I get it.
Yeah, but but yeah, and also, um, and also, it's about aim that the company and yeah, uh, heal now because because I'm just absolutely yes, I over at this point as you probably already gathered to of my previous video, was is com- I'm always complaining about the yank. Um, um, yeah, but if you get any options, I must one I mean, that you want to actually off your chest.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I mean, there was highlights, there was low points. Overall, it was. I would say it was better than average.
Yeah,
I mean, you're probably going to disagree with me with this, but I thought the main event was really bad. Like in terms of pacing, like the actual story that they told, it was
yeah,
um, predictable. Like finish, you always knew someone was going to interfere. Oh, look, it's Jimmy. Like they were so shocked that would be the case. It's like you kind of like you had all your solo stuff, and then you got Jimmy. It's like yeah, okay, whatever. I'm getting a bit. I'm getting. It's just. It's. I don't think it's. Not saying it's run its course, but I think it's really missing Sami Zayn. To be honest with you, I think they made a mistake taking him out of it. To be quite
yeah.
honest.
That's an interesting point, but I'll say, but actually, you see, in the Romans, Romans' offense is only he's sort of wrestled a couple of times and some wrestle in yeah, and both matches, yeah, and I
Yeah.
him cheese, so he's not had so he's not had a singles match since in yeah, if you think about it, and that's not really his fault. It's mainly due to the company just deciding, or right, you're going on a part. I'm on from that because we were on is if you from like for but like so that's not really on omens sure us and that's on the company as a whole. So in his offence, I don't think the match is as bad as people are making out to be because but Saint and tag more so and have different sort of Asian issues in him. And and I don't think he was sharp. If you know, if you know what I mean, because he's sort of knows who no was with I can cheese is not had a sink or some arch so and roads and the roads arch but I see you a point
Yeah, no,
as
that's fair enough. I
yeah
mean, I do think he's got some say in what his schedule is, though. I mean, I don't think
yeah
like, oh, by the way, you're going to be part time now. There must be. He's got enough clout in that business where he can go. he's got to that point. Fair play to him. He's got to that point where he's like, I'm going to have a Brock Lesnar schedule now, and I think the two of us agree with that. So, but I see what you mean about sharpness. I wouldn't say it's so much sharpness. I just think it's how they went about telling the story in the ring, and it's like, yeah, I understand that a good heel always sort of, you know, Triple H did it for years, for goodness sake, you know, and he was like, you know, you sort of take your time, you know, you get the heat off the crowd, and so on and so forth. But man, this was slow even for him, like, in my opinion, obviously. So yeah, but I mean, it was okay. I thought it started off quite well with Logan Paul and Ricochet, because I was a bit apprehensive about that match at first, because I was just a bit like, kind of a random feud to stick Logan Paul in. Like, you go from Reigns and Ricochet, you know, nothing against Ricochet, but
actually, that actually, he said, actually, he said, and my predictions, and my predictions, I did, but that actually is surprised to me, obviously, is, you've got Ronda, and Sheena, saying he's in the middle of that, and that was, is a heap of shit, though, that was horrible, like, I'm happy that that's on the actually finished, and for the moment, because she is just she's just off often as a performer and a human being as well.
She's not very likable. I mean, I think they've made a mistake with Ronda right from the beginning. Is that with Ronda, they needed, as far as I'm concerned, they had to book her like Brock Lesnar. Like, she needed to be the Brock of the women's division. You know, she's come from a you know, genuine, like, you know, legit combat sport background, and yet when you're booking her in the first place, she's coming out all smiles and all happy and all this stuff, and it's like, no, what are you doing? Like, you got to make her like a monster from the start, and they never did. And it was like, okay, she had a decent match with, it was the tag match at Mania, wasn't it, with Kurt Angle against Triple H. Definitely, that was good. But I mean, that was, you know, Triple H and Angle carried that. Let's face it. But to be fair, did hold her own quite well. But even then, it's just like, you know, they're building her up to be like, oh, the baddest woman on the planet. And she really wasn't, like, in terms of storyline anyway. You should have been this unstoppable monster who, like, took down, I can't remember who the women's champion was at the time, but took them down in 5 minutes, because that's what would happen in reality, let's face it. And build her up to be this kind of like Goliath that they need, that then one of the women can eventually overcome. But I just think they booked her really, really strangely right from the beginning. And I think this whole Shayna Baszler thing was probably too little, too late. They tried to. I think Paul Heyman was get involved with creative and make it a bit more like I've been talking about, but it's too little, too late. And then I think the crowd just sucked the wind out of everyone. It's just I just didn't care. I didn't really care about Ronda by that point, and that's a shame, because it could have been a lot better, and they could have built. I just quoted the evil one from a certain program we won't talk about. So I agree with you there. And she doesn't come across very likable in real life. But then if you book her to be a bitch, doesn't really matter, does it? So, but they didn't. So yeah, I didn't really care about that. I know you're not Cody Rhodes' biggest fan, and to be honest, I'm not a huge fanboy of him personally. But I think the way that they've been booking him, logically speaking, and I know you could say, what, he's going to beat Brock Lesnar, you have to laugh. But I think if they're going the route of he has to overcome all the obstacles before he can win it properly, then he needed to beat Rock clean, and they did that. Whether or not you agree with it is kind of like up for debate. But again, I'm not like a fanboy of Cody. Obviously, I think LA Knight should be getting his push, but
well said.
And I feel it's funny because I feel the same way about Randy Orton than you do about Cody Rhodes. So it's quite funny. But I mean, I'm not like a big Cody. I've never been a huge fan of his, but the way that they've been telling his story, even though apparently he hates that whole finish the story thing, but they keep going with it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, the match itself was okay. I think the whole
yeah,
thing of Brock throwing him out and he keeps coming back in. It's like that normally Brock would just finish him in the ring and that'd be it. But I think obviously they had to tell the story of him being the giant killer or whatever. And it was actually a decent match for Brock. To be fair, it went long. It wasn't your usual
yeah,
suplex, F5, finisher. They actually like made it work a little bit better than normal. But yeah, that was okay. The battle royal, yeah, the right person went over. In there,
yeah. It's about time.
yeah, um, it could have been better if it was for a title, but like, that's just a little nitpick for me. They could have. You got Austin Theory in there. Why don't you just put it for the US title? I just don't get it. But then going by what happened on SmackDown, now we know why.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, but they're kind of telling the whole story about Rey Mysterio,
yeah,
and in the US belt, because that was a more asking, right, for those that don't actually,
but
you know, oh, because I followed, and because I follow all the product, the just, the just. He and Sean even says that I'm a glutton, that I'm a glutton for a punishment, but that's another
but that's a compliment
story.
midway to you as well.
Yeah, but in terms of the IC, I um, um, I don't think I've ever seen uns or have a bad
No,
match at
he's solid.
all. Yeah, he's absolutely he's solid, and I enjoy and I've enjoyed every match he's had ever since he's in back, and I think he'll be that autism. That I'm
Yeah,
sure that will that um I'm sure that will actually come back. Oh, he had on in the stream as we chat about old summer. So so for him so well for him to actually break that it'll be historic for him, and it's actually and he's actually going to be guaranteed the whole of Fame spot and he was actually it because that record with for 30 six I mean
yeah,
years or something like that.
1989.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what Gunther reminds me of? William Regal.
Yeah.
Do you see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, just the way
Yeah.
he moves around the ring, his stance, like the way that. Well, it's kind of it's kind of got like a sort of hybrid of William Regal and Ric Flair, just in terms of
Yeah.
his moveset and he operates. He's just a solid worker, and I think he's definitely going to break the record, especially because we're in the era of records now, so breaking records. So
Yeah.
that's definitely going to happen. Yeah, and long may it continue. To be fair, like he's seems to just compete well with anyone he's put in the ring with. So
Yeah.
it'd be hard to see or imagine who would take it off him. I mean, maybe Bobby Lashley. I don't know. I think that's probably the only other person I can
I'm
think.
actually, I'm actually going to surprise you here, and you're probably going to start killing yourself laughing. But put the um, they've kind of put the oh, um, it's on Chad.
Yeah,
Oh, wait a minute, maybe some maybe it's a sort of underdog worry because he's only challenge on for on a paper and like if I'm and if I'm right about this make sure he is all even a portion of the stream as evidence. But yeah, yeah, but that's kind of the only opponent and that I see that I actually and um 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 and
Yeah, yeah. I almost completely forgot about Chad Gable there for a minute, but yeah, no,
yeah,
I think they're finally starting to realise. Yeah, okay, we've got a mini Kurt Angle on our hands here. Okay, not comparing,
yeah,
but there's obviously similarities there. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it could be. I can't personally. I can't see it. I think they're going to probably stick it on someone who's got a bit more of a, I don't know, like a push. But then it could be. You never know. Maybe they change. Maybe they see something in Gable that they should have seen a little while ago. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
yeah,
I reckon though, if they're going to dethrone Gunther, it's going to have to be at one of like the big four pay per views. I'd be surprised
yeah,
if he dropped it at a payback after all this time. It's like having Reigns drop it at like I don't know, fast lane. It just
yeah,
happened. But yeah, you never know.
yeah. And obviously, I'm hoping with the battle Royal result, some yeah, Elwin, I actually, it's a bit more of a chance now, because like I haven't really got them that he's been as I shouldn't. I mean, and the guy gets incredible routery actions
The best.
from almost
Like,
every
oh
week.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Iron Brew, just in Daniel's honour, I thought I'll take in some of that
Yeah,
today. Um,
yeah,
yeah, not only that, but he's like, isn't he like the top 1, 2, and 3 in terms of like merch sales?
yeah.
Moment, like he's overtaken Reigns, so it's like, and usually
Mm-hmm.
they base their pushes on like merch. Although
Mm-hmm.
then again, Bray, the Fiend had like the highest merch rate, and look how that turned out. But you know what I mean? Like, hopefully they'll ignore that, and
Yeah,
we'll be like, we've got this guy here. There's something good. I know it's the whole, oh, he's not ready for it yet. He needs to go through like a long like program. I mean, they did start that thing with the Miz the other night. That could or could not work in his favour. It depends on how much faith they still have in Miz, to be honest.
yeah, but also yeah, but also only he had them up against Hit Row again
But
last night, and I don't really see the point in the because Hit Row are practically jobbers this point, you know, to be honest.
yeah, they are, and I don't know. It's maybe they just think, oh, we'll just stick him, we'll just give him an easy squash. Well, it wasn't even a no. He got pretty much. It was pretty much 50-50 for most of that match. So it's not like it was like a squash
Yeah,
for him either. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think they're just sort of trying to figure out. It probably took them by surprise at how big his momentum is now. And like I said to you,
yeah,
chat beforehand, it comes across to me as WWE's typical trademark fucking pettiness of someone getting over organic. They're like, oh, hang on a minute, we didn't manufacture this, so yeah, I'm going to put you over there in the corner, and hopefully you'll go away and be quiet. But
yeah,
they have to sort of acknowledge this, especially like I said with the merch sales and everything else that he's doing, and the highest, like the hottest reactions that he's getting. It's got to come. It's got to come at some point. But I suppose we'll see how this thing with the Miz goes, because again,
yeah,
the Miz tends to be sort of like
yeah.
fighting
Yeah,
hard
the sort of
people these days. So
yeah, the sort of comedy role, each sort of thing that
yeah,
they always drag out there, and I've noticed, and like that, and that back and forth between two of them on the Raw. I enjoyed particularly
Yeah,
and particularly Erling Eight's side of it because the guy can actually talk on them like and he kinda reminds me of Stone Cold Steve
mhm.
Austin and the Rock terms of in terms of the way he presents himself of the catch for his the promo style and stuff like that as well. No, so that
Got a bit of Ric
so
Flair in
that
there as well, where he does that. Nah, nah. Kind of reminds. It's got
yeah
that kind of Nature Boy style to it.
yeah so yeah, yeah so that's kind of what has me maybe had myself gravitate
Hmm.
on to because that's kind of what I grew up with
Exactly.
of Austin and so that's back into my early sort of fan um
Yeah, same here.
basically.
I think it's
Mhm.
something that's been missing for quite a while. Like you've got
Yeah,
guys that are, guys and gals that are decent on the mic, but there's been serious sort of lacking that kind of larger than life charisma that
yeah,
that's what got us into it in the first place. And he's got it. He's got it in spades. So
yeah.
hopefully, it's. I suppose in a way, maybe they're worried that if the danger is that if we expose him too much, then it's going to be like, oh, it's just going to be the same thing every week and that. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like when iron's hot. You know what I mean? It's like they never really seem to do that anymore. Like when Austin
Mm-hmm.
rose to his popularity, it was a very sort of meteoric, quick rise. They knew that they had something on
Yeah.
their hands here, so they went right. Well, let's get it, and they timed it to perfection.
So I'm also as well you have to maybe get a move on because he has actually 40 years of age,
Yeah.
and and I don't know if you caught my I don't know if you caught my tour response videos to um, Ashes.
Oh yes.
Well, he'd have
Oh yeah.
called out um, he'd have called out his stupidity to be, you know,
Just a now, so
honest.
I don't know why anyone would take what he says with just a massive pinch of salt because it's like,
Yeah,
why are you even like bothered? Like it's working.
yeah,
The
yeah,
fans like it. So what's your problem? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh,
yeah,
he's just like the Rock ripoff, and then you think, yeah, so it works. You know, everyone
yeah,
GRS Central says it. He's like, yeah, so what
yeah,
if you're going to rip off someone, it might as well be someone who was actually good. And
yeah.
I don't think it's like a complete rip off, but it's definitely there's definitely like
Yeah, there's elements of,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, we've seen what WWE's like when it comes to like screwing the pooch with this sort of thing. So I always take it with a sense of cynicism, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm also happy about Ioska. I
Yeah.
actually get her moment because I think she's the most underrated performer on the roster. My own it can um as the whole Japanese to Angel is body I hold to a backup, but in terms of Rome was but
Well, I mean,
apart
it
from that,
depends how they do it. Like they could just she doesn't
yeah,
really say that much, you know what I mean? They can just put
yeah,
like position her as someone who lets ring action do the talking. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a whole thing with her
yeah,
of damage control, isn't it? You're going to finally get Bailey's
yeah,
blatantly going to be like, yeah, I this you wouldn't have got here if it wasn't for me. Blah, blah, blah. So they're going to do like a
yeah.
Bailey feud as well. So they've got options rather than just sticking her in the same old, like you say, with boring Bianca, who's like basically like the John
Oh,
Cena of the division right now.
she is so she is so cringe. I'm telling you, if if I hear if I hear the word or combination of on more I'm going to actually have an Elvis breakdown.
Yeah.
And can you not just unheal some heart your ill as hell and you're holding the tits off me? Just change it up a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no,
And
definitely.
she's
I've just got a bad feeling though that they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna basically make her like the John Cena of the women's division, where because
oh
she's like so good with the kids and she's got that kind of happy-go-lucky attitude. Then it's like, well,
yeah,
who else are they gonna put that on? Because Charlotte, to me, is a
yeah,
natural.
she's a heel.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
she's
why they bother putting her as a face at all. I don't get, because she's
yeah,
naturally arrogant and she's a flair. They're,
yeah,
they're by default they're assholes. So just stop
yeah,
people actually give like cheer her, because it just doesn't work. I remember when they tried doing it with I can't remember what the pay per view was. It was a couple of years ago, and they tried to do the double switch. So they tried to make Becky Lynch the heel and her the face. And this was just before like Becky
oh
Lynch was
yeah,
like,
that was
man,
awful because
it's
Beck,
like, what are you doing? Read
yeah,
the room.
because Beck, he's kind of got a bit of the Austin about her, the
Mm-hmm.
sort of rebel sort of face character, and that doesn't actually work if you then unperform or so like that and heel in
Yeah,
most cases. So yeah,
it's just another way of just shoehorning Charlotte into another title feud.
yeah,
Come on, can't you just have a feud where it doesn't involve the title, but it has to involve the title because she's Charlotte Flair? It's like, I don't
yeah.
get. Never got it with her, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, like, I actually think she has talent,
Oh yeah,
but
no,
you
she's
just,
athletic. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it's. I think
yeah,
again, it just comes down to nepotism with WWE. It's like, oh right, she's a second or third generation superstar, so we got to put the rocket ship up her ass. It's like, oh come on. But
yeah.
anyway, sorry, what were you? I've rudely interrupted you there. What were you were saying about Charlotte being?
Yeah, yeah, I actually think she has talented. The problem is, as soon as she comes back every so often, back from a holidays with if in Gerardi he did she's immediately he fired into the tight pitch up, and you're like that. Hang on a minute, she's been off for several weeks.
Yeah,
How does that constitute her being put into the title picture? It doesn't really make any sense.
well, it's politics, isn't it? She's got that.
Yeah,
Her dad's clout. That's it. And
yeah,
okay, she's worked hard for the company for a long time,
yeah,
but it doesn't automatically just give you the right to be like, yeah, right, I'm back now. Where's my title shot? You know what I mean? It's just that, and that lends it to be for her to be a heel anyway, because that
yeah,
sort of shines through in the character. So to be like to
mhm,
pretend that she's like, oh, she's the queen, she's the greatest, but she's a face. It's like, no. Just keep her heel and try and keep her out of the title picture for at least a month, maybe. That'd be quite nice.
so in terms of old school matches and SummerSlam events, what are some of the standouts for you? So we'll start with you first, obviously, because you're the guest.
Oh, thank
Second. I'll go second because I'm the host, obviously. So yeah. So is there any standout events or moments that stick out in your mind in regards to summer? So um.
Yeah, well, I mean, whenever I hear the word SummerSlam, I always think of SummerSlam '92. Um,
Yeah,
it was at a kind of turning point for WWF at that time, or WWF at the
yeah,
time, because you sort of, because as you know, I've been watching like the really old SummerSlam sort of coming up to this, because I
yeah,
like there's like moments that I remember, but I'd never actually watched them because I was about 4 at the time, so I didn't
yeah,
watch them from like start to finish. Um, and there was definitely sort of, you started getting into that new generation era with still the
yeah,
sort of throwbacks of the Hogan era, and you know, the whole atmosphere of it being at Wembley Stadium. So there's always going to be that kind of soft spot there for me, being British, but also the fact that they should have done it since then, for God's sake. But you know, maybe we'll get one soon. I don't know.
yeah. Hopefully, on in Scotland because we've
Yeah,
had
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, because we've had them in England now.
fair. No,
Is
that's a fair.
y- is Jamie Buckers um and also as we've had oh, Ash at the castle recently in Cardiff.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about
And all in coming up.
time. So it's about ti- so it's about time on a pay-per-view up here and stop passing about and give me my pay-per-view for God's sake, but um can continue your thoughts, or I had to get that out.
Yeah, of course. Look, I was just
Mhm.
scared to,
Yeah,
sort of on the back of that, you know, when that roundabout clash when Drew had the momentum, you think, why wouldn't you do that in Scotland instead of Wales? Do you know? Do you know what I mean? It would
yeah,
make more sense to do it in like, I don't know what the state of Murrayfield is these days, but you know, maybe or like Camden Park or something like that. You know, because
even
you're
um,
Scottish Drew. You know,
e- even just give us an extreme rules at
yeah,
the Hydro or
yeah, Hydro
something. I'd be happy.
that I want to go to anyway. And I've said to you, like, if they do one there, then I'm coming up and we'll have a few iron brews. That would be amazing.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't ignore Bret Hart and British
Yep.
Bulldog, can you? I mean, I could sort of get away from the whole Diana part of it, like, or with like
Oh,
it all the time. It's like, I don't care.
mm, oh, she was awful. See the her
Oh,
she
it's
got
bad.
before that. Oh God.
It was so wooden. It was like, I care about my husband, but my brother's in the match too, so just hope they don't each other. It's like, oh, piss off. But I suppose what they were going for was the whole, it's going to tear the family apart sort of thing, but it wasn't going to happen. Um,
I kinda did, but it happened sort of 2 years after
yeah,
that my action. Oh, but yeah, I
yeah, so,
suppose I suppose it's an argument along storytelling and in your house match that they had for them and for them in championship is actually a
yeah,
is all the match and it's elf and obviously Bulldog is the heel and he's obviously still in the um in the Captain it's he always also like but in like SummerSlam 92 the um both performers and actually if he sees it
yeah.
well
Because it's
so
funny
yeah
that you know, looking back on it, you think, oh yeah, British Bulldog is in his home country, sort of,
yeah
and it's he's gonna have like the overwhelming momentum. But then Bret Hart comes out and he's got a great reaction as well. It's only over. He kind of does work heel in that match a little bit. Like every time he gets any
yeah
offense, the crowd start booing, and he's kind of walking around like, oh yeah, it's kind of like foreshadowing his heel run later on. So I thought that was really
yeah,
cleverly worked, and it was also refreshing to actually, when you, especially going through these older pay per views, older matches, to actually have like a proper wrestling match, like it
yeah,
actually was a clinic of wrestling. And okay, like
yeah,
there's always, you've got your place for the larger than life characters, especially at that time. The way that they used to tell the stories in the ring, and it was very over the top, and it was very steroids and all sorts of other stuff, which just made me chuckle just watching back some of the promos. How they didn't like lose their fucking voices after every match or every pay per view, I don't know. Like they had some proper like rigor to them.
yeah,
Yeah, you know, it was told to. It was a lot. It was long. It was a long match, but it wasn't plodding like a certain recent main event was, in my opinion. You know, every
yeah,
factor of the match. Not there wasn't any wasted time. Put it that way.
yeah, and actually, it saved a show from being shapey,
Yeah,
basically, because a lot of them actually had sort of weird and funny. She's Sean Olsen and Rick Martel had a
yeah, that
out finish,
was
and
so
you had
weird.
um um
With Sherry like falling asleep and then keeping her eye open and then falling back asleep again, and then she ends up
and
getting like water. It's like, what was the point?
yeah, and you had Kamala getting the e- used against the Undertaker, and you had the whole unshot odd and funny. She's I'd be interesting to actually get some insight from people that were actually at that show.
Yeah.
Sure. Also, if anybody tunes into us after that actually was at the SummerSlam 92 show, stay of the odds and the comments about that show, because apart from apart from the IC match and maybe the tag match with and
It was a good opener,
was
that.
it yeah, that was yeah, but that was good. But the rest of the card um
Yeah, that's it.
the
So,
rest,
in
yeah,
terms of like, so when I say SummerSlam '92, it's for the main event. I mean that's
yeah,
the association of that is for that, and actually surprised that okay, yeah, British Bulldogs, the hometown hero, sort of. So you're going to put that, but it was kind of a rare thing back then to not have the WWF title be the headline match. But obviously, in special circumstances, they thought, right, we'll do it on this occasion. So that worked out
yeah,
well. Title match between Warrior and Randy Savage was actually probably one of Warrior's better matches, all things considered.
uh,
Bless
yeah,
him.
um, yeah,
But
yeah, but I would have to actually say his best opponent has to be Rick, because I
yeah,
think because I think Rick would get the best matches out of him, to be totally honest, because he
yeah,
was a very limited um for armor, um actually Rude and actually Rude in the Warrior had a SummerSlam 89 for the ICE belt, where it was also pretty good,
yeah.
and obviously the match in year later, the each match was also pretty solid, and both had the same participants in an match. So I think I'm good. to is probably the opponent, and it got the best out of him, to be honest.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you,
I think Rick Rude was. I don't
yeah,
know. Maybe you could consider him underrated. I mean, he's certainly someone that I would say kind of was a glue that kind of held the sort of upper mid card together at that point.
yeah,
Yeah, like he definitely deserves credit for being a bit more flexible, shall we say, than guys like Warrior, Hogan, and Ilk were at that
yeah,
time. So yeah, that's a
yeah,
good point. Also, you meant when you mentioned that cage match, I actually thought it was quite interesting watching them. They were actually you saw the
yeah,
team was putting the cage up in real time. So I thought that was actually quite a cool concept. That obviously they got rid of stints, but I did like the
yeah,
old
but
blue cage. I thought they had character.
yeah, I mean, I mean, I had the privilege of experiencing an impact show. That show
Nice.
wasn't that show actually great, wasn't that show wasn't actually televised, but it was is but it was a as go show young young announced a each match
Right.
in an event because because you probably remember seeing it advised to the old shows but like all the shows back in 2013 had a each match, and obviously I will into the oh, as also, and you should see the amount of effort it takes to
Yeah.
actually put together a you each.
Yeah. Exactly. And especially
Yeah,
even like if when you had like the blue cage like you were just talking about, which I imagine was awesome to see in person as well, because you get to see things that the TV viewing audience doesn't necessarily get. So oh yeah, I did quite like seeing the sort of reality behind it. If that makes sense. Yeah. So overall, I think overall for that main reason you've got that. I think the tag match started things off quite well. Like you say, um, Shawn Michaels and Rick Martel. There was some decent stuff in there, but I think if you're
yeah,
going,
but the finish, yeah, but the
yeah,
finish just ruins it, which
yeah, it does.
is stupid.
And then you had what was it? It was Crush in his new like Hawaiian gimmick at the time,
Oh,
and I'm like, hang on a minute, that's just demolition, but with different characters. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's basically
yeah,
Crush and Smash, just looking slightly different. So
yeah,
I mean that was a sort of a sad tale in the end for Brian Adams, bless him. But
yeah.
yeah, so that was a sort of a mere middle of the road match, and yeah, then no, yeah, Undertaker Kamala wasn't the best either. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to talk about like Shawn Michaels matches, you got to say Razor Ramon at 95 was pretty special.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And also the casket match between Undertaker and Karma is a bit underrated as
Yeah,
well. Well, because if you think about how it, like, Karma actually got some decent offense and like, the offense actually looked impressive for like, and that's some match that don't think he gets enough of attention. Obviously, obviously, because it's overshadowed by the fantastic actual and um match for the ice. But yeah, the casket match deserves a bit more attention because it really us it keep eyes up eyes so it's pretty is all it
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, it's probably one of the better casket matches, and it was one of
yeah
the early ones as well. Like
yeah
I've enjoyed many of the casket matches that Undertaker's had throughout the years, but that one was definitely like you say, it was an underrated one, and it wasn't just a short match and then just roll him in. You know what I mean? It was decent back and forth there. So yeah, they I would say in terms of moments though, like from SummerSlams, then yeah, Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels, which it's funny because at the beginning of the match, they bring the hanging thing down, or for want of a better
yeah
term, the belt is, and then it goes up, and then Shawn Michaels says, "No, bring it back down," because they didn't put it the right way round, so they just left it in there.
yeah
So they turned it round, put the title belt on there, and then it brought it back up again. I just thought that's not something I noticed before until watching it back again recently. I was like, oh, okay, that's
alright alright I thought Shawn Michaels would be in an arsehole as usual
probably,
because
I mean, it could have been that, and he's just it sort of, to me, it looked like it needed to be turned because he was the face in the feud in the match. So I thought maybe he's just been a little bit cocky, but I think it was just like yeah, it needed to fix the way because it wasn't facing the hard camera before when it went up.
yeah you get and here's a and here's a and here's a with and here's an interesting point as well. That was actually um and here's a good point as well. And out of the match was announced the another of the match was announced against the face so I
Yeah,
was it on Raw um and interesting of that was the first that was the first orange of that was the first that was the first orange of that was the first orange of Eric Bischoff of Venom in is the outside or because that is yeah because that is one of the early in April was I am and I remember the actions that were happening at that time. It was ex- it was ex- Osma and under the name of or Joseph Elsis and for the
hmm
US and on the other side it was side or certain Sean and
yeah,
and it was half a further the arch Eric but a short himself either so out of the
yeah.
arch but remember at the time all is actually pre it's actually pre it at the
Well, yeah, it had
time
live at that point, was it?
yeah
Yeah, yeah, because that's how
so
they
yeah
head in the ratings for a bit because they were like, well, fuck them, we'll just show them show them how like spoilers, like the really early form of spoilers, like pre dirt sheets and stuff. So yeah, that's an interesting tidbit actually because I guess that was kind of like one of the catalysts for what was to come during that era. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think of any of other matches off that. I mean, you had Diesel in the main event, which wasn't great, but
oh my god
yeah, terrible.
yeah but
Luger,
yeah Yeah, but I've never been a fan of ever been a fan of um eh, either.
Mabel,
Oh,
yeah, but yeah, what he was
God,
viscera as well. It was just a just a big
yeah,
bulging lump of rubbish.
yeah,
So yeah, no, yeah. So it's funny how moment you think of like what's a standout actual show from start to finish that is really good, and really and truly for me it's SummerSlam's '02. Like if you're going through
yeah.
like one that's going to be solid and there's not just like oh that was good, but then it had this really terrible match. But I think every
Um,
match
s-
is good. So best.
yes, SummerSlam in in oh had some
True. Yeah, that
had
was
my
good.
cheese on it, but because you had Shamrock versus Ackman the whole Einst and if some actually
Yeah,
had he had Arsenal versus Osman for the hardcore or Elton and it up and her on
oh,
over the road.
man made
Uh,
eat his own dog or something like that. I can't, from what I remember, like vaguely remember that going on at that time.
yeah, but that is about it
Right, gotcha.
or
Yeah,
on but because remember they were because remember even after you um
yeah,
um him after you for age is you had them all versus oh it thanks an underrated it my just stipulation is about stupid, but
yeah,
in terms of the actual matches elf, I think the matches actually oh it is when you have um when you have X Pac and Kane for um um versus Action under are in a pretty solid um I can actually hell so
yeah.
yeah I mean and obviously
Does
and
that count?
obviously
Orange. It was like when he had the orange and one arm. That was just before then, wasn't it? Where he changed his attire slightly.
yeah
Yeah, I quite
yeah
and the mask was
um
yeah, more orange than black, wasn't it?
yeah and obviously as well you've kind of got a bit of a behind the scenes politics politics and and the triple or that match because Austin didn't put over triple H so
No,
so
not until I
what
know.
happened so so what happened and match was oh he hits Austin with the DD with the DD and becomes the champion and Triple H ends up getting the L on the
Yeah, it's the next night.
oh
Yeah.
yeah
As far as politicians, I mean, okay, I love Stone Cold. But as far as backstage politicians go, I think he was only surpassed by Hogan, in terms
yeah
of like that doesn't work for me, brother. I'm going to do this or this. So
yeah
yeah, especially at that time. God, I mean, I think he lightened up a bit. Well, in 2000, 2001, where he put over Triple H quite a bit. Like especially in that I know it's not
yeah
SummerSlam. Apologies, but when they finally had their final confrontation, the No Way Out, they end up
yeah
having Triple H like win the feud. I think that's when Triple H then became a notorious backstage politician as well, because it's like,
yeah
hang on. you're the one whose storyline run over Stone Cold, but then you're going to end up winning the feud anyway. It does, yeah. It was a weird time back then, like behind the scenes anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got another one that sticks out to me. Obviously, you got the Boiler Room Brawl from,
Oh yeah.
and I'll
Oh
tell you,
yeah. The
Mick Foley / Mankind in that match for me is the star. I love Undertaker, but for me, he's the star of the show in that match. Just when you hear some of like his visceral screaming as he's just like going about his business, it's like this dude is properly nuts, but it works, you know.
yes, see for me the star of that match is actually oh
Paul Bearer,
yeah, no,
yeah,
oh, but because that is actually one of the best huge ones and then that um and his history in terms of and terms of or it's up it's up the whole thing in
yeah, yeah. It sort of plants the seeds for
storyline, yeah,
yeah.
and all of that, and yeah, it's just
Horrible
it's
bit.
just yeah, yeah, and that's actually one of my favorite heel um on the whole time in terms of or it's in terms of what it says up as well. So yeah, so you can
Doing it what
kind of
6 years in the
yeah,
making as well. Like Bearer,
yeah,
obviously they started off as heels themselves, but through
yeah,
Taker's popularity, Paul Bearer just sort of came as a package. So if you think like after 6 years, really think about it, it's quite a long time in terms of someone aligning themselves and being in the same sort of allegiance for that long. So to have that was at that time would have been even more shocking. Just and obviously because they were all so good at keeping in character, especially Undertaker, you never would have known, it never would have got
yeah,
out. So yeah, that's a fair shout, definitely.
yeah, because um and also as well my and kind of said like full like like you know see some of the stuff he did in that actual like for all and off shit the sort of else good themes and all of that just it's a perfect match
Getting like the 2x4 across the back, like
yeah
falling off like the
mhm,
ladder, and then like the just especially I love the
yeah
way it starts because so you think like someone like the Undertaker's like he's just impervious to anything at that time. He's not scared of anything. He's like the dead man. He's the one who's been portrayed as the monster for all these years. But then you bring in Mankind, who's even someone the Undertaker doesn't really understand because he's just like
yeah
completely just. So to see him, when they start the match, to see him sort of kind of go for the door to open it, but he's
yeah
a pensive. He's like, "Well, do I really want to do this?" And that's the Undertaker, for God's sake. So I
yeah
love the tension that he has when he first goes in.
and yeah, and it's almost like a game of hide and seek. It's
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
that's hmm,
No,
yeah,
yeah, no, carry on. Oh, great. Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah.
And then
I
because I'm
mean, yeah,
in that bit, I'm assuming that bit was taped, and then obviously it was then they
yeah,
cut.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's because just do not remember that the not remember that the behind the scenes put the big sharp EVs right round to
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
ring.
yeah. No, yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, because to be fair, when you think about it, though, they have to sort of time these things to
Yeah,
perfection. You've got to get it at the right, exactly the moment where the camera stops at the taping, and then when they come out live, it's like they had to really get it like spot on. I know they did that with a lot of angles back in the day, but that one in particular, considering how fucked both of them were before, like, uh, pardon my
yeah,
French, to like go through all that and then to have to sort of sell that even though they're both of them are fresh as a daisy live, but you've got to kind of
yeah,
sort of explore that when you go out. So yeah, that was good. And even when they went out to the ring, they were still beating the absolute living shit out of each other. Like the move on the concrete floor. Did he do it? Was it the tombstone
yeah,
or pile driver of some sort? Wasn't it?
yeah, boss. It was the tombstone.
Yeah.
On
So
yeah, but obviously at the end of the match, I actually get the Giroud, you
yeah,
get the Giroud at the end of the match, and obviously we know it wasn't the end of the carry hard, but you kind of
yeah,
got the sense of what the hell's going on here because he was carried out almost a sile, like you know,
yeah,
sile, like by six dudes.
yeah.
Um,
It was kind of like that was the next.
mhm,
That was like the end. That was like the end of like the purple glove era, wasn't it? It was kind of like
yeah,
sort of around that time where he went from purple gloves, and then later he came back as well. I think there was some stuff in between, wasn't there? But then you sort of have the grey gloves, then you have the purple gloves, and then you've got like it's almost like a morph into like an even darker persona when they revisited the feud like a couple of years later.
yeah. Yeah, me, in actually really enjoyed the burrito I've match it on
Yeah,
the in your house shows as well, and that is kind of the final
that's right. Yeah,
elf. That was kind
yeah,
of the final elf for the purple
mm,
wolf version of the Undertaker because you not remember like you had the Asian domination, you had the Krishna guy that they brought in
oh yeah,
and had him go all to the host of Ari the
right. It was a united effort, wasn't it? Yeah,
Undertaker, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was it. It was for a year as a whole. That it wasn't the worst. You know what I mean? I think it was probably 96. I think it was probably slightly better than 95. But then 97
I
it took it to the stratosphere after that.
um yeah, I mean uh, um also enjoyed him and Red Hart from in his sevens
Yeah,
ama song as well. Obviously, you have him Sean who's is the guest referee, and you're kind of taking on an emotional roller coaster because because you see because you see in the Barati Spubilded
yeah.
Og and own heart come out and a fear you pop error out and a fear here and you get all of this and you get all of this and you get all of this off his L and Sean Michaels has been instructed not to is heart and show favoritism and right at the end of the match but right obviously he spits it on
Yeah.
and then and Sean takes off Sean takes off under he has head him of the um of the chair that
Yeah.
he is and that's he is magic sorry hell and
Oh, massively. And that's what sort of leads on to the bad blood as well, isn't it? It's like kind of
yeah
it's around that sort of time, wasn't it, where it leads up to Hell in a Cell, like over the course of a few months.
yeah and I'm sure and I'm sure people don't know what happened at the Survivor
No,
series by now because
that's
W
something about
um
it.
because
Someone
the
left.
oh yeah because W W won't shut up out at the so I'm sure maybe the easy you'll find out what happened
Well,
yeah
yeah,
folks yeah
yeah,
because
yeah.
they can't
Yeah. Just Google like Bret Hart 1997 and make your own mind up.
yeah
And, yeah, I mean,
yeah
don't think we'll ever.
yeah
I don't think we'll ever really know like the full story because there's elements of it being a work, there's elements of it being a shoot, there's elements of it
yeah
being a work shoot. So yeah,
yeah
I've I've done. I'm just over all that shit now. To be quite honest with you, it's like, oh come
I
on.
I get apparently jumped on it and so resource aren't you over who created the schedule
Oh, of
and
course they are.
is so that kind of tells you all you need to know
Exactly.
to be
I,
honest
I think it's six of one, half a dozen of the other, isn't it? But
yeah
yeah, I'm leaning more towards the fact that it was a work than in a
yeah
shoot. Just don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's just over the years you start to work out certain storylines just when you're watching it as a fan anyway, and you get used to the certain tropes that these storylines go in, and it's like it seemed more like it was scripted than that. But like I said, that's just our opinion. Feel free to make your own minds up.
yeah
We've been going for about God, nearly 30 years now, maybe longer. No, it'd be longer than that, wouldn't it? No, nearly. My maths has left me. 97. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, 30,
almost.
more
That,
than 35 years. Yeah,
yeah.
no,
Um.
25
So
years. Oh, forget it. I don't do numbers.
yeah, and yes, here I'm absolutely terrible at maths. But anyway,
we
um.
do about 20 odd years because I'm 36
Yeah.
and I'm an 86 baby. So yeah, but anyway, you know what we mean.
Yeah. I know it's only as well. You've got at SummerSlam 2000 to me. You've Papa Ackman versus
Mm.
his in McMahon.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Shane takes a massive all of this scaffolding.
yeah. It was on like
Because,
the
yeah,
thing at the Titantron, isn't it? He's like that there,
yeah,
up there, isn't he? Yeah. Which would
yeah.
become a trademark of his. I think was that the first time? Was that the first one that he did, or was that the second? I'm pretty sure because
Well,
he did it. He did some crazy
yeah.
spots at Angle as well, didn't he? Right around that time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, Father the girl. As sort of ends in the ring, still he fight with Kurt Angle, the German who
Yeah,
exits for them.
yeah. He thought he'd like actually knocked him out or did his back in or something like that. I was just like, shame,
Yeah.
crazy, you crazy bastards.
Mm,
2000 was that? That was that TL. No, that's WrestleMania, isn't it? I'm thinking of TLC two.
no. Oh no, that was the very first.
Oh, it's the first one. Okay, cool.
TLC
Yeah.
match.
Sorry, yeah,
Match.
get numbers
But
mixed up.
because the WrestleMania 2000
That was
is
two.
actually
Yeah,
the triangle. Hmm. Actually, actually, was basically
triple threat one, wasn't it? Yeah.
yes. It was basically the same thing, but under a different name. So don't know. I didn't just all that ELC do it, but make it a bit more but make it a bit easier. So you understand.
Yeah,
Hmm,
exactly. Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
weird about that.
I yeah, but obviously you run the Hardy Boys home own or home but is that only to put over um agent wresting and the match, and then never really understood it, but he would have thought he'd have put over he'd have thought he'd have put over he- he'd have thought he'd put over the hard he's basically eh,
Yeah, I think that was the beginning of the WWF WWE Vince McMahon trope of, oh right, if whoever's performing in their hometown is going to lose, because just to
yeah,
piss people off. I think the only time I can remember them actually doing it, one of the rare times that they put the hometown hero over, was SummerSlam '92. You know what I mean? So like
yeah,
ever since then, or especially in maybe the sort of from the sort of early 2000s onwards, they went through this thing of, right, if the hometown babyface has got to lose. Like you've seen it even recently with Sami Zayn in Montreal. They're like, yeah, well, okay, that's made it more predictable because he's definitely not going to win now because he's in his hometown and it's against Roman Reigns. But yeah, I see what you mean. I think the Hardys had more momentum, but they were trying. I guess they wanted to sort of cement Edge and Christian as like the dominant, well, not dominant, but they're like the leading heel tag teams, and that brings me back to like a sort of a point back when just watching back some of these older pay per views. It's like that's when tag teams actually were proper tag teams back then. You know what I mean? I missed that. I missed the sort of the styles, and I missed the fact that teams actually looked like tag teams. They weren't just randomly
yeah,
like put together singles wrestlers. They actually developed the tag teams and made it relevant and made it actually a division you care about, because some of the crowd
yeah,
pop back in the day, like in the late 80s, early 90s, just for what you would consider these days would probably get maybe a lukewarm reaction. We're getting such a huge like white hot reaction just for like making a hot tag back then was such a big deal. Whereas now it's not really
I
given.
mean, because even without looking Bradshaw EPA, as soon as the first um, air entrance music started to the all patch, we start eating, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, I love the APA music was great, man. Dan, dan,
Yeah,
dan, dan. And to be fair, like they were almost on par at the time with like, okay, not quite, around about 2000, 2001. They were getting
yeah,
like main event level pops, and they had the sort of interactions with Austin, like because they were like the Texans
yeah,
and stuff like that. So yeah, things like that were definitely better. They definitely focused more on making the tag teams just as important as the
yeah.
single guys. I'll be
I
back in a minute.
mean, yeah.
I'll put some light on in here because it's getting a bit dark now. One sec,
All
mate.
right,
You crack
cool.
on.
Yeah, but in terms of other matches at 2000, I also enjoyed the triple threat between a Rock, Triple H and Angle.
Yeah,
Well, I thought that was a pretty good triple threat match. But in
yeah,
terms of, but in terms of other, in terms of other, still from around in the 2001 in the 2001 SummerSlam match between and Austin, but
yeah. That was brutal.
in Angle and Austin is an awesome match. Him about the and he should that match because
Oh, what the wing
bec
spots, like the two
yeah,
priests. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. You carry on.
yeah, Yeah, shame about the finish of that match because you've got Ekpa Trick, who was a WC referee, comes out and just disqualifies Austin to protect the championship, and you're like that. This is an excellent match, and you've just kind of ruined it with if the finish
That a lot,
of the match.
didn't they?
Yeah,
No, just noticed Charlotte's comment. Sean was looking a bit like he was in a police interrogation scene. Oh yeah, maybe I am.
yeah,
I was in the boiler room brawl. Yeah, sorry, I've only just because I'm using this on the iPad. I can't. The comments aren't coming up like on the same screen, so I have to like click onto like chat, and it takes me to a separate screen. So sorry, I'm not ignoring anyone. I haven't had a chance to look
yeah,
at it until now. So, but yeah, going back to your point about the weird finish, it just seemed that that year they just were so focused on making the WWF the victors that they didn't really. Well,
yeah,
eventually that's what was going to happen, but you had to obviously placate Stone Cold as well. So the whole idea of him joining the alliance anyway, I never got on board. I thought it was ridiculous, to be quite
yeah,
honest. But yeah, it's like you were in a good match up until the end, and then I mean, okay, had Angle like didn't he put one of the referees in the ankle lock at the end? He just had enough by that,
yeah, but
and
yeah,
it
but still, SummerSlam actually shouldn't end in a disqualification because it's a big war paper of review, and
did.
disqualification finishes shouldn't happen in a big war show,
Yeah, I
in
agree.
my opinion.
It's weird. They sort of set the precedent for that, even in the early SummerSlams, like the 88, 89. There was a few weird disqualifications. Like, there was like a face. I think it was one of the. I think it was a bad news. No, there was a junkyard dog match and
Yeah,
qualification.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, junkyard to org, and I can't remember who he was fighting,
only
but
recently as well. I've already forgotten, but yeah, it was like someone got
I
involved.
think yeah, I think it was Rick Root, and out
Yeah,
comes
that's it.
Jake, and out comes
No,
Jake
yeah,
oh, it's
yeah,
because
that's it, yeah. Rick Rude basically took his like he had like
yeah,
two sets of trousers on, and then he took one off, and it was like a wasn't it like a picture of Jake the Snake's missus on the back on his
yeah,
arm. So then
yeah,
Jake the Snake came in and interfered, and then they disqualified it, and disqualified Junkyard Dog as a result. And he was kind of a bit like
yeah.
his face was kind of like, oh, whoops, sorry, like they weren't quite. He wasn't quite expecting that, and I thought Junkyard Dog was going to knock him on his ass because of that, but he didn't. He was just like, oh well, never mind, you know.
I don't know if you've seen the Arc Side of the Ring um episode in Junkyard
No, I haven't. I'm
Dog.
waiting for the. I'm sort of. The thing with Dark Side of the Ring is like I like the idea of it, but it's a lot. It's a big. It's big on the tragedy porn, isn't it? It's like I don't know
Yeah,
myself. I'll definitely will at some point. It's just yeah, just finding the opportune moment.
yeah.
But
It's not the most happy series. As you probably you already have guessed, half of it's about the downfall or Solas and the eventual fall of them.
yeah,
I've not actually caught up with if the agent even on yeah, I've still to actually I've a short, but I'll tell you, I'll tell you an episode that you should actually watch the Ash at the Beach
yeah,
2000 episode. I think you'll get a lot of information
hmm
out of that episode, and it is a fascinating, it is a fascinating story, and I think
It was a big turning
uh,
point in the business, that particular show. Well, what went on at the end of it anyway.
yeah, and I think you come out of that episode and you sympathise with Jarrett because
Yeah,
Hogan like Hogan didn't actually show up but well I saw from the Russell Ross's uh, children handbags that on between
that was typical.
Uh, uh, um, so and yeah, and so if Jared actually he says he was actually better up in the southern territories, which
Yeah,
actually he say you've got to listen to the audience and whatnot, and he actually he said in his sort of segment in the episode, so for him, for him, he was kind of wanting them. Uh, was just doing, he was just doing it for his oh, he
yeah.
basically, so you, kind of empathize with Jared, the other, uh, oh my god, oh, it's funny, it's funny. He's basically, he,
But it's an equal
children,
pair.
children.
Always been like that,
Yeah,
haven't they? So yeah, why doesn't
yeah,
that surprise me? And the fact that you said Hogan didn't even turn up, that doesn't surprise me either because he's a wanker. Do you know what I mean? I
yeah,
mean, but I've got respect for what he's done for the business, but like we were
yeah,
talking about on the messenger, it's like that when I got to SummerSlam '92, it was basically four main events in a row where Hogan's headline. It was quite nice to not have to put up with watching him for at least one of them when I got up to it. So yeah,
yeah,
you actually gonna say you've got mixed thoughts on him, have you?
yeah. In have in have respect for what he's done for the industry. He's elevated to the industry to on it was, and he had some memorable matches. Randy Savage at WrestleMania 5, for example,
Yeah.
stands out from he, but it's the whole sort of, but it's the whole backstage politician thing that kind of ruins it for him. Eh, and
Well,
to be
he
honest,
carried later on in his career
yeah,
with the infamous
yeah,
Shawn Michaels match where Shawn Michaels was
yeah,
like, well, because yeah, they wanted to do like 2 or 3 matches, and Hogan was like, nope, one and done, brother, and I'm going over. So Shawn Michaels was like, right, okay, I'm
yeah,
sell the shit out of this and make you look like an idiot. Then, I mean, don't get me wrong, HBK had his own politics as well, but Hogan was king of the mountain as far as that was concerned, in his own mind, anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I actually meant to ask you this before, but what did you think of the Roman Reigns Rock is now? Asked and standing match at all. Asked to your summer so because I personally enjoyed that
It was probably the
mm,
best match they had.
match.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially when you compare it to fucking the WrestleMania matches they had, which were god awful as far as I'm concerned. So I
yeah,
think it was definitely needed, and I think Brock Cowboy face Brock was just a breath of fresh air to him. I think he just looked like he was in
yeah,
a minute of it, and I think the sort of roles reversed kind of actually worked really
yeah.
well because you've got Reigns on this like the tribal chief character, and then you've got Brock Lesnar, who's still as strong as intense as he is, but he's loving life. So it was quite interesting to see how that went, and with the whole tractor segment, I thought was pretty special. That was had an attitude era feel about it.
Yeah, and also I know I give my Coca-Cola a lot of but to me that was his best ever performance and commentary, and he really has sort of and he has sort of upped his aim in the past sort of maybe
Yeah,
18 months, but that is his best sort of performance and commentary for me. Like he can actually show to me that it can actually be a pretty all it ounce an ounce. Or I used to do hate mama. I, oh, oh,
yeah, me
but
too.
like
His voice used to grate on me, and it was this whole. He used to call spots wrong in the ring as well, and like, uh,
yeah,
but guy, YouTuber Mark Pearson.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
Mark Pearson.
yeah, oh yeah, he's actually my a favorite of the year. I'm like, go back and
Great.
actually watch his videos all the time.
Yeah, and the fact that like he used to call out like certain spots, it was funny. He used to be like, "Get it right, Cole, you little bastard," and yeah, and literally every it's always been in my head every time like he calls something wrong.
Yeah,
Oh, you little bastard! So yeah, shout out to Mark P. He's great, but it
yeah,
just it proves. I think as Cole's got older, obviously he's got more responsibility on his shoulders now. But I think he's kind of taken it into his stride. I think over the last probably 6 months to a year. Now that I don't know, he probably has it again now. So unfortunately for him, but there's a period where he hasn't had Vince McMahon fucking screaming in his ear like the entire time. So he's been able to actually sort of organically call the match and use his
yeah.
call upon his experience. Whether or not I don't know how if Vince is still he's come back to gorilla position and is shouting down the microphone again now. I'm not sure, but he seems to not be as kind of intense as he used to be. If
I'm
that makes
actually, I'm actually going to say something, and it's going to be
sense.
controversial here, but I don't think that whole spinning confusion surgery adds up. Be you know, honest, I think he's just using that as an excuse. So, like he did with the injury during the steroid trial, and I'll tell you, I because yeah, because see, but and I'm coming from as a person has actually had in
Yeah.
confusion surgery. So see, earlier eating on this surgery, you have to get shot for back or is
Hmm.
uh, and like and yeah hasn't in and there hasn't been any any sort of reports of him having a back
Right. Okay.
for the he's and uh, and yeah that is actually and I'm telling you that's from one of the first things you get old about having a scoliosis and you're eating on a surgery you've actually to get measured and get it provided of a back brace until you get the go ahead for the surgery and there's not been any sort of what's to actually indicate that at all basically.
Like if they, yeah, well, you speaking from experience from yourself, then that's it, then, isn't it? So it's just He's just trying
yeah,
to paper over the cracks of something, of yet another dodgy situation he's got himself into. I think.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, in that investigation is still on as well, and I'm obviously not going to tap into any of the allegations because I'm on my a channel to still be around. But all I'll just say is it's not looking very good. Autumn, you've got the whole and Evan, and you've got the whole and Evan air jar, and it's actually supposed to be still being finalised, and you've
Yeah.
got this a day it's when we're based on all the allegations and all the criminal procedures that are going on around in him, so it doesn't look like a very good situation, um, and he's part of having us yeah, back on the board of directors.
No, and the trouble is, but in the position that he's in now, he's basically
Yeah,
kind of untouchable, isn't he? Because you
yeah,
can't, there's not like a sort of not hostile takeover, but there can't be like there's not a union there to be able to sort of vote against him or to sort of veto anything that he does, because he's managed to get himself back right where he was in the beginning, and even more so now. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I think I just I know he's been sort of dabbling with creative again, but it's like, just stay away. Like, you can fine, just own the company, but just stay at home. But you can't do that, and yet somehow he's still getting away with all this shit that's coming out now about
yeah,
like, man, it's just never going to end. As much as I think CM Punk's a whiny, or to use your expression, a whiny wee fanny. Um, he was right with
yes, but
like, there's nothing's going
yeah,
to change until Vince McMahon finally snuffs it, and that's proven to be
yeah,
correct. You know what I mean?
eh,
Even when you thought he'd gone, he somehow managed to come back. He's basically like his
yeah,
creation. Take a character, he just keeps coming back.
yeah. And but CM Punk's a different sort of scenario that I could rant on for about maybe 3 days. But anyway, but in terms of other matches, you've got Rey Mysterio and Dolph Ziggler from SummerSlam 2009 for the ICL. Actually, it opened up the show, and like it annoys me how that they never really started to push him like to be
Yeah,
honest, because it
it's
was
not start with it.
start, yeah,
Yeah, because like he kind of had that sort of Shawn Michaels vibe about him to begin with, like, and they were really going to go for it. Like, he went through the phase where he had Big E as his like bodyguard, and like, he was in the World Heavyweight Championship picture, and he's always been a solid worker. But I don't know. I think, well, maybe with conflicting reports, he can be a bit difficult to work with. Perhaps I think his
yeah,
ego gets the better of him sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I saw potential, like you say. I saw a potential with Ziggler that just. I think I don't even. I think I probably just didn't trust him with carrying the company. But yeah, I was speaking of Rey Mysterio actually. That was a good, going back to SummerSlam '02. The Mysterio
oh
angle,
yeah, the match with Angle, yeah, really good
great,
match,
and also
yeah,
like actually surprised that Kurt Angle won that match, considering with the usual face and heel dynamics. You think, okay, SummerSlam is like Ray's gonna like sort of conquer Angle, and he's gonna get out of the ankle lock, and he literally did all his finishes at the end, and Angle still managed to. He just got him in one ankle lock, and that was it, and he tapped. I'm like, oh, right, yeah, no, fair play. But the actual wrestling involved was great, so that was a good match. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then going on from that, I think it was no, that was the second match. That was Jericho and Ric Flair. That was pretty decent as well.
Yeah, also as well, you've got Booker T and Goldust the versus the
Oh,
Un-Americans and Lance Storm and Ashton that I thought was a good match as well. I thought
yeah.
that was a you saw with the tag match. You've got the match of the card to the unsanctioned and no
Oh,
holds barred match
brutal.
between Triple H and Shawn Michaels and JR and commentary as you said in the chat. As you said in the chat earlier on, uh, he was in up form
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah, when he obviously when Triple H does what he does after losing,
yeah.
you've just
Mhm.
he's even the King, who's like normally in favour of at that point anyway, he was still normally like the heel commentator. Even he was like Triple H is a low life, he's a low life scumbag. Like no, and then
Yeah.
JL really sold the fact that this could be like the end of Shawn Michaels' career. Obviously, in retrospect, it wasn't. But the only thing I will say about that match that every time I watch it, I go bollocks is the whole time, the whole match, Triple H has been
Or
focused.
the heel for the heel form, man, and that kind of was revenge as well, because they
Yeah,
used that comment as well, and you're like that, you shouldn't really be using insider terms on air, it just
heel for a heel.
it's,
Like what? What? When did they
yeah,
start? That must have been a one-off. But
I
also,
just,
kip up.
yeah,
It's the kip up that Michaels does after having his back pummeled for the whole match. And like,
mm,
it's supposed to be an injured back, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden he does
mhm,
the big kip up flip. And I'm just like,
mhm,
no, no, that's my only nitpick about that match. Otherwise, yeah, it's
yeah,
masterclass storytelling. Other than that bit, but yeah,
yeah. Yeah, also as well, you have Edge versus Ed Guerrero again, a pretty solid match.
yeah,
Yeah, even Undertaker and stuff felt had a decent
yeah. It was all right.
matches.
I'm surprised
Yeah,
seeing the Undertaker use the tombstone because he kind of sort of got rid of it for a while, didn't he? Around that time,
yeah,
just using the last ride. So the fact he used the tombstone, it felt special. It felt like okay, that he obviously needed that to put him down, kind of thing.
yeah, and obviously you've got Octavie, but Oct and
Yeah,
a show that I think I think as a part he saw the match, and to be honest, I suppose right around to the time the Rock is on in the Hollywood, um, so the so yeah, it was the right decision. Elevate on, yes, or because
yeah,
he would um because he would go on to be the main event for the next mm, 3 years, and how he decides to throw in
yeah,
the oh
yeah. And then that was what sparked Vince McMahon's panic and thought, right,
yeah,
we'll just make John Cena the number one guy for 15 years. Oh God.
yeah,
Um,
mm,
yeah, and also found it interesting that the crowd were pretty much turning on Rock in that match as well. Like the seeds were sort of planted. They knew it was buggering off, so they thought, "Oh, he's a sellout." So
but
I think quite an interesting dynamic in that match in terms of crowd reaction.
to be fair though, the New York um, route has always been pretty
True.
arty
Yeah,
to
very
be
much.
honest, and yeah, 'cause that's yeah, 'cause that's kind of 'cause that's kind of the uncultured racism, and that took place in New Yorkism. Also, all the sort of arcs actually all from the New York area, so it kind of
Got Paul Heyman being one of them as well. Yeah.
yeah, so it kind of makes so it's kind of made sense why they it actually it can basically
Oh yeah, I like the fact that it kind of
yeah
planted seeds for Hollywood.
Hollywood
Yeah,
yeah
because then it's like, okay, you've used an organic thing with the crowd to actually work as a character, and I think that's one of the better
yeah
story elements that they used to use now, or they used to use back then. They don't not so much anymore, but it was good back then.
yeah um so 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 the other so in terms of other matches you get Red Hart and Owen Hart at SummerSlam 94 the
It's great.
each match that's also pretty good but also Chera only each mankind each match from in each seven they've
They're
also
decent cage matches around that era, weren't they? Like they were really sort of starting to ramp them up. Like obviously around the time of Hell in a Cell, but you still had like your the cage match was always the one that was like that's the like the culmination of a feud, and it kind of built up around that time. But I think they again I think they worked better back then when they actually needed to use them rather than just we'll just throw them in a cage like on a random Raw or something like that. So yeah, those
you get music and you've also get the bizarre under versus under
oh god
come on. I find that amazing. If you just
Brian wasn't it?
um, if you just
Yeah.
want if you just want something to laugh at for
Yeah.
20 minutes, it's perfect because yeah because Rhino Eve is like and she's smaller than the
Yeah, that's it.
Undertaker.
Yeah.
Um, and you hear and you hear Jerry oh and Vince McMahon go when I can't tell the difference between her and you're like but I know
Oh,
he's
yeah.
her and she's short
Yeah.
than Arctica I will the actual Undertaker and it's and it's and so like that kind of make you it's things like that that kind of make you oh, oh
Oh god, yeah.
I found that
I do heap praise
mhm,
on some of the early stuff, but there's a lot of hokey shit, and that is
yeah
definitely like one of the hokiest shit I've ever seen. And it's just
yeah
like that's what I say. Like Undertaker's early career, he had some terrible fucking shit to work with, but
giant um giants always at WrestleMania 9 and the rematch at 93 summer so
yeah,
off matches were edible and Giant Gonzalez was one of the most hideous wrestlers
yeah. But
ever. I
just
mean,
it wasn't it just some kind of like Bigfoot kind of weird outfit thing that he was
yeah,
wearing. Yeah, it was just yeah. There's some sort of there's some matches there that just yeah don't want to ever revisit again. Actually,
uh,
going back to like the old stuff though. I remember the very first one, night in '88, Mega Powers against Mega. I think they called themselves Mega Money at the time, wasn't it? With
like a ox.
Mega Bucks. That's it. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
had that was decent, and it also again showed that it was sort of kind of Hollywood at the time with that kind of with the way that they were presented. Like you had Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan. It's very rare that you sort of see those sort of larger than life personalities.
yeah,
So that for
yeah,
me, out in terms of just the sort of spectacle of it, like going back to like some of the old WrestleManias as well. The match was all right, but it was more to
yeah.
do with like the star power involved, and you think, wow, it's like you don't really get much like that anymore, sadly.
Yeah, yeah, and like I didn't actually into the 89 tag match.
Oh,
I
dude.
know that I know this is right, and he did actually remind me. And he did actually remind me of a certain sack of shit that 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 now infamous for ranting on half the chat and half the people that check my Twitter, half you'd already know who I'm talking about by now. I know you certainly do, but anyway, but despite that, you still had sensational Sherry and her stuff of my actual man is just absolutely brilliant to
Oh,
be
yeah,
on.
that's the thing when you had like proper stars in Sherry,
Yeah,
and like they were just the epitome of class at that time. And okay,
yeah,
obviously, as time's gone on, you've actually developed a really good women's division for wrestling. But at the
yeah,
time back then, it was like they actually carried themselves really well. Like they weren't quite,
yeah,
they weren't smutty like they were in the Attitude Era. Do you know what I mean? It was like they were not that I'm saying that was a bad thing. I'm just saying that's where they decided to go in that direction. But
although,
yeah, Sherry was
um,
just
uh,
magnificent.
yeah, although Trish, the artist actually became a good wrestler, and eventually she just needed a few years under
Oh
her belt. Um,
yeah, yeah. Like the whole thing with like when she was with the Dudleys and was doing that kind of the table stuff, and that was kind of like in my teenage years. That was formative, shall we say? But yeah, but like you say, as in the few years since, not even it didn't even take her that long really after then to actually hone her craft and be one of the best women wrestlers ever. So kudos to her for that and for actually sort of giving her the time to do that.
but the Jackie from Off and Off match, so the tag match, so that's
Yeah.
awful to go back and
Uh,
watch. So that's from the that's from that's from Raw on 2002, and Jackie from Off and Off is a horrible wrestler.
oh,
I'm not talking.
blonde
I'm
Jackie,
not,
right? Blonde Jackie, because
yeah,
there was before then, wasn't there?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I'm not talking about Jackie that was with Arrow. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the actual.
Ada,
Yeah,
whatever. Demons. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Get night eye candy, great, but was just terrible. Like really, 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 really not
yeah,
good.
yeah.
And it reminds me of a Trish. There's that segment in O2 where Howard Finkel suddenly has a character, and he's moaning about like being grateful or something, and then Trish Stratus comes out and then ends up getting like, "Oh, Howard, you got a really sexy voice," and Howard's like, "Oh, thank
Um,
you. You've got the puppies, and I've got the wiener," and I'm like, "Oh my god, what's going on here?" And then
and
obviously bait and switch
um,
for Lillian Garcia, but yeah, that was
yeah, uh, yeah. In fairness, so they tried that. I think 199 Adam Jericho's old. Uh,
oh yeah, that's right.
if you remember, but so they so they've tried that in a couple of Asians, and they've also had Oh, Inga Garcia and an on-screen relationship with a sister, and you're like,
It's a really
us? Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Well, I've
yeah,
obviously pressed that from my memory.
yeah. That was like in 2006, and
Oh,
Charles,
much around that
um,
time.
yeah, and Charles, he has in the a cinema with, over it, and you're like, she's a ring announcer.
Yeah,
Not, she's not actually paid be an active in-ring performer. Her job is just to make announcements, etc., not to participate in any
no.
storyline.
What do you think
Mm.
of apologies for fans of her who I've forgotten her name, but the ring announcer now, Ricochet's missus. I can't remember for the
Or
life.
some, or, or Samantha Hudson.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you. I don't know. I think she tries a little bit too hard. Like she goes really like, oh no, the judgment.
I,
I'm like, oh,
uh,
for me.
well, actually really enjoy the way she pronounce the way she pronounces eyes and
Yeah,
ons. I know I like the pronunciations. I don't know so it's about like when it's about like when only chum oh you it's done and um um, rich coming out to the ring. It's that kind of position, but things I don't know. I really enjoy her. I think she's under the it, it,
yeah. I don't mind.
it,
Everything else
to
is
be
fine.
honest.
There's some things when she goes, "I know into the ring. It's the judgment day." I'm like, oh, all
Yeah.
right, fair play to you, though. Like, well, I just certain things like that just make me cringe a little bit. Oh yeah, speaking of Judgment Day, we forgot to mention the Seth Rollins Finn Balor match from this.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, absolutely excellent. And obviously, yeah, kind of get the car shins the wrong around, and because I predicted, because I predicted her used to a car shin on, but
Yeah,
or he almost did, he almost did in a couple of occasions, but I think now, and I did enjoy the match, though the match was
yeah,
a
it's good.
pretty good match, and I do enjoy the judgment. He is a faction, and I know that you're not, but I can manipulate his stereo, but for me,
Grown on me a little bit. He's grown on me slightly.
well, get a bit from either the guy I show on some improvement, and he's
Yeah,
on and he's and he's on um, uh, and he's on both for Raw or and
yeah,
NXT, having some excellent matches, and the whole and a whole sort of Europe, eh, um, um, sort of hearing is just some of the if is just is just some of the stuff and joy in them, and because it kind of actually reminds me of China and Italy, yeah,
that's
but
a very good point actually. Because I was just going to say he's kind of showed me more sort of Eddie Guerrero vibes as time has gone on, and that's actually a really bloody good comparison. Yeah, no, he's fine. Yeah, I mean, he serves his purpose. He does what he's supposed to do, and that's be a really annoying pain in the ass, and he does it really well. And I think he's he's definitely been around people like Finn, Damien, and obviously Rhea as well. He's starting
yeah.
to pick up the cues that he needs to really excel. And obviously, I'm sure his dad's still giving him tips behind the scenes. So yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely he's grown on me somewhat.
but in terms of the actual match itself, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and obviously you have the whole 7 years,
Yeah, so
so,
I thought it would have been better
um,
Demon because it
yeah,
would have kind of come full circle. But other than
yeah,
that, yeah, it definitely it did its job, and I like the fact that they're still kind of without it kind of dragging out too much. They're sort of still teasing like the sort of the inevitable implosion, shall we say, of Judgment Day because
yeah,
I can imagine
uh,
they'll keep
uh,
Priest as the heel.
yeah, um, but like, that's an interesting point, but I'm actually going to disagree here because,
What?
oh, yeah, because I actually think that, because, I actually think, as I think now, they'll actually act out, her East and add Jade E. McDonough into
Oh yeah, they're teasing that.
the if action because they've had a few conversations with him and Al or etc. on screen and the whole sort of race jealousy thing. I
Yeah,
and the two of them are really jealous of each other because but Al still knows he's getting um embarrassed but Al still knows that these has a guaranteed has a guaranteed each oh shot
yeah,
it is but Al has had who bites at the chariot or all instant Rollins and also the jail say so the jail see factor but in of his painting in the past couple well it's
yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it because I think there is, like you say, there's a good faction. I think on the last chat we did, I said I like the idea of Judgment Day, but I don't. There doesn't seem to be like a particular direction that they're going in. They just seem to be bad guys that beat up good guys. You know what I mean? So I think now there seems to be there's a little bit more interest there for me now that there's not so much infighting, but they've got their own agendas, which I quite like. So yeah, so hopefully that's going to sort of spearhead them in an even more interesting direction in the next coming weeks and months.
yeah
Interesting to see what the new Hurt business are going to be doing as well, because now you've got Bobby Lashley and Street Profits. I imagine there'll probably be some sort of Survivor Series thing where maybe they go against the Judgment Day, or are they going to be heel as well? It's that for me was one of the more interesting things of SmackDown. It's like finally, hopefully, they'll give Bobby Lashley a bit of a role to go on now. That's probably
yeah
him.
yeah, I mean but you know for a fact you know for a fact uh, when you start when you start Owen in that hot business who point oh can you not actually come up with a bit
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
him a bit that'll be the actual I bet you that'll be the actual aim of it
Oh, that'd be
to
awful.
be
Well, I think
honest.
was it Sean Bob? Shout out to you by the way, mate. Who was saying they should call it
Yeah.
like the hurt profits or the street business, or one of the two. I think it was. I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
even that would be better than no, just to call them the hurt
Mm-hmm.
business. It's like, yeah, come on, show a bit more originality there, WWE, please.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and I also actually think Santos will actually heal under Mysterio, so you've got Santos as about who presumably be feuding with Mysterio in a few weeks
Yeah, yeah, that would be
time.
good as well. I can imagine them putting on some pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
It'll give Escobar something else to do as well. Like they sort of I think a heel turn will do in the world of good. To be quite honest with you.
yeah. Yeah, and I really actually, and I really actually feel, and I really actually feels, and Vince McMahon's kind of stepped back again, and
Hopefully,
I've actually noticed a few, I've actually noticed a few improvements of the product. And because I actually he thought him all as a pretty so it so last 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 week because is the whole um because the whole um Ura he
yeah,
was pretty it's a it, it
agreed. Heel
to be
Nakamura. I
honest.
think he works
Yeah,
better as like a
yeah,
sort of assassin type heel. Like, and I think that'll be an interesting feud going forward with Rollins because it's like the Judgment Day stuff's kind of been done to death with him now. But then you've still got the looming threat of Priest in the background. But if you kind of hone in on those two for a bit longer, then you've got something fresh, which I think is desperately needed, especially for the B title, shall we say? I don't think
yeah.
they'll win it personally, but I think at least
Uh,
it'll give it a
I
bit more
mean,
spotlight.
I mean, but I also have a suggestion for the companies. Can maybe you just get rid of the female tag? Else,
Oh yeah,
be big. As everybody is getting injured and then us else have a hex on them
they do.
because
Just like
yeah,
it's yeah, like the kiss of death with anyone who holds those belts at the moment. It's like
yeah,
it really need. I mean, they need to work on their division anyway.
um, also as well, I'd actually the I'd actually I'd actually the place um if I say Eddie and was built but back as you have people like and the heart hell and all of that it's been recently old up
Yeah,
to them in Ross and like she's hard to live in on EV since he called up and there's a few and there's a few female Ross members that have maybe some more get some more segments and off off to be honest and a secondary I think a secondary will help that and like I think as well if you were to do if you were to do like a I mean the obvious um obvious first champ would be um Royce
So start,
Arts.
yeah, for sure. And that's a great point because you think you've got the US title and the IC title on the men's side. You should do okay. Comes down to numbers, doesn't it? But you could
Yeah.
have like the version for that for the women, whether it's like women's TV title or something. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or like light heavyweight, the equivalent of what the
Mm-hmm.
light heavyweight championship used to be back in the day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
something that, like you say, is going to give that roster a bit more direction, and then you can call up more of the NXT
Yeah.
girls to, and give them something to do. I mean, you've got your Raw's 3 hours still, for crying out loud. Surely,
Yeah.
rather than just repeating different parts of the same storyline over and over again, you can just dedicate maybe like the second hour to like that particular field, whether it's like cruiserweight hour or new call up
Yeah.
hour or something like that. Make the most of the time that you've got, because otherwise
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I still struggle with Raw, which is why I commend you on the fact that you sit through it every week and I just catch up with the highlights, because I'm like one could say I'm a fair weather fan these days, but I'm still
Yeah.
just keep interested in things that I'm interested in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you see, I can't have far, so I've got to actually you see, I- I've got to actually you see what happens with everything like
But
watching this
like you way back when.
um and because I will watch all the pay-per-views as well. I will watch NXT. I will watch all the NXT pay-per-views like see
NXT one that I need to
uh,
really start getting back into again. Yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Um, so so like for me, I don't know what has actually happened because see during the lockdown I was only maybe paying attention to the if other years, but since if allowed um fans back into their evening as after alright, I'll check this back out again and won't behold I'm actually tuning in. I'm actually tuning in all three parts of the order again, and it's actually became like a full-time job. You see, this is
Yeah,
um, you see, this is what I actually do. And I don't talk about the show that we don't want to talk about it
yeah.
anymore. I've actually reignited my a passion for or uh, um or wrestling and guys like Elway in right and people that have helped for what's that's I every post to see on all my social media as all all yes and
But
it
that's good though, because it shows that you still have that passion. And to be fair, like you've sort of reignited that in me as well, because I'll be like, who's this LA Knight guy? Let me check it out. Obviously, he had the dodgy shit with Bray Wyatt, which we won't talk about much. But if anything, thing that has ever happened to him, if you think about it, like from that
yeah
kind yeah, and I think I've actually caught up with most of the pay-per-views. I think since Royal Rumble, yeah, I've watched each one, because again at the time the Bloodline sort of stuff was piquing my interest, and then LA Knight sort of has
yeah
come into the fold now, and the Gunter stuff has been really good as well. So yeah, like keep it going, mate, because obviously with the show that we will not mention here, is just
oh
massively
yeah
concerned, and I think
yeah
talk
yeah
about
shut the bed
that
Mm-hmm.
is going to make you happy and focus on those sorts of things because that's what it's all about, mate. You know what I mean? Life's too short to worry about all
Yeah.
negative shit. So yeah, keep it going, and I'm glad you are.
Yeah, and like as well, I would encourage you to check out NXT because like um I enjoy I enjoy the whole I enjoyed the Jack and Gal is Gal is a great tag
Yeah, of
team. I have to actually you see that because of
course.
eh,
Yeah.
sure obviously and my man today he support the greatest football team in Scotland. So
Oh,
I have
yeah,
to,
Celtic fans as well then.
yeah, yourself,
Right.
big
Okay.
fans as well. Yeah, because they actually did the half time or at a Celtic
Oh, did they? Oh, brilliant.
game on time as well. So yeah, it actually but like Celtic fans and you're not but a tag G and a post not too long ago that that they paid tribute to the whole sort of will be Celtic Celtic he shirt that
Oh yeah.
I told you about so they kind of paid homage to
Yeah,
that
that's
and around here so they actually so they actually are but against Celtic fans so yeah be ready so be ready for a um be be ready for a Celtic season ticket holder. I'm not taking it behind. Not taking
a right passion,
no. Oh,
isn't it?
yeah. Um. Yeah, but in terms of other stuff as well, I like the whole direction of JCG in JCG and GGO in L because the whole segment and I think it was last here actually when you did this what
Okay.
obviously between Gigi Owen and ACG and it was kinda similar to the barbershop segment
Oh, okay.
because
So
because
off genetics, then, did they?
yeah but yeah, and you can see the whole, and you can see the whole, Sean Michaels influence because he's obviously the head right or for NXT.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's kind of how that whole segment came about. Obviously, JAC on I'll send you I'll send
Yeah,
you
I'll
the segment.
check that out
I'll
because that'll
send you.
be
I'll
interesting. Yes.
I'll I'll send you the segment after my after my on my important go for much longer. We'll go for a couple of minutes longer because I'm making a point. But
Of course.
um but yeah but that whole sort of scenario came out as something and actually it me angry originally in the firing him and he rose. He remember I went absolutely
Oh yeah,
is
that was
I've
that's ridiculous.
do you remember I went absolutely is gets on on my YouTube channel on my Facebook
Yeah,
and on my
they've done
my
it properly dirty, man, didn't they?
uh,
Like
yeah,
awful.
yeah, because even Sean, who was actually doing, he kind of thought. or shirts. So like
Yeah,
he was kinda being a hypocrite. And that basically
yeah,
went into that but yeah, ultimately he actually went to the um, on whole segment
mhm,
and it caused to the split in JJAC and GG and like yeah and like I really see like things for both of them. You've also got a finished writing that I think
I've
um
a couple of her bits and
uh,
pieces. It's pretty
yeah
cool. What you've seen on
um
Twitter
I
or
uh,
X, as it's called.
yeah, like, obviously she won't be called up right now because she's holding the main sort of women's title.
Hmm.
Oh, but like, in my opinion, I do believe that she'll be ready for a oh, up at some point in the future because you can see that Angel's been refined and she's good at getting and she's good at getting healed. He is to be totally honest.
Yeah, and I think
Uh,
they need more talent like that in the women's division because
yeah,
I mean, what I can't really think of many good like really good heels that they've got in the women's division at the moment. I mean, obviously you've got Rhea,
yeah,
and that's really it. To be honest with you, like no one really comes close to her in terms of getting that
uh,
sort of like hatred towards them. I mean, probably
yeah,
Damage Control are still going to be heels now. I'm not sure.
yeah, but like, yeah, but like, here's the thing though, like, you Sky is getting babyface
Exactly.
reactions on her own, and that had all started since back Ash and
Yeah,
Puerto Rico. Also, she's getting babyface reactions, so I think all went up happening is like she'll eventually split from um and Kota and he'll and figure it with the for a bit and like and maybe off on a oh or on basically because she's kinda starting to outgrow the whole heel sort of thing now
yeah,
because she's getting babyface actions now.
yeah. And I think Bailey is more of a natural heel anyway. So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna happen at some point. They do the reenact the whole evolution thing with her,
Yeah.
and then you've got your sort of your natural feud set for and your title feud set for the next couple of weeks to months as well.
Um, yeah, and also as well, I think they have actually, but yeah, pretty fantastic. To be honest, I mean, and you can really see as well, she's kind of got the essence now.
Oh,
She's
she can hang with the
uh,
best, you know.
yeah, 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 and she'd get excellent entrance music as well. That
Probably the
sounds badass.
best on the roster right now, men and women. I just
Yeah,
it's badass.
yeah.
The like personal.
So yeah, so in terms of the whole judgment presentation, I was a bit hasty when they kicked out Edge asked because
Yeah,
if because before I'm like that, oh my god, yeah, I read because they kept losing, but ever since but um ever since Ash at the castle, they've been out a lot more strongly in the whole and like he has soft he doubt his
yeah.
careerism. And yeah, and you can really tell that the whole studio Adam actually must have screwed with his brain.
Yeah, I watched
Um,
that recently as well. That was great.
yeah,
See
yeah,
his face. I'm like, oh, in a few years' time, you little shit.
yeah, yeah, because he's already said a couple of times in his almost as if only Eddie is money he'll
I mean,
harder than that kind of made me chuckle.
isn't he? Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
He's definitely got stereo eyes though.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
that. Right.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, no problem. Charlotte, thanks for the talk you've been made on them eat
Right, Charlotte.
um, because at some point, like I was, at some, like there was a couple of points during the each, and I'm like, I'm not up for that's due to the usual, yes, I'm just,
Oh, yeah, like
you
that.
know,
Knobhead.
assholes.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. I know it's easier said than done, but this is what it's all about: chatting to people that you actually enjoy as company, chatting about
Yeah,
things you enjoy. Don't let those knobheads just erode at your passions, because it is evident right here that that's not going to go away anytime soon. So, mate, keep it up.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so is there anything that you would like to add on the stream before I get you to your sh- outs? Because I've really enjoyed, I've really enjoyed the conversation and they could end until autumn, autumn. But obviously
Sure.
you due to thinking and strengths and everything would be here for about 5 years or something. But
Oh,
now
yeah. So,
I've really, yeah,
easy.
I've really enjoyed the conversation. I've kind of extra up a bit by bringing in some of the new stuff and some of the older stuff as well. And there's been a really nice balance, and I think that and I think this chat's been the best chat with on, even though I do of the Triple H stream. With that, I think that this stream has actually opted to opt all because I think if I and over or straight if is streams
Absolutely.
so
Yeah, no,
so
I agree, because I think it's been a perfect balance, like you say, of the old and the new, and it's just kind of been a conversation. Like, we haven't really had to sort of structure it like, right, let's talk about this. Okay, now moving on to this. It's just we've incorporated pretty much everything. I mean, there's so many other matches that that either I've forgotten about or just haven't watched in a while that I know should be in this discussion. Personally, from my point of view, but from what we have talked about, it's been brilliant as usual, and I can't thank you enough for having me on again, mate. You know, I always enjoy our chats, and I wish they could be more frequent. So hopefully they can be. It's just trying to
yeah
one when she's off is a bit of a full time job at the moment.
Yeah, I know, and as I've said, who you like, on my way, like I'm at South each Park every
Yeah,
second each day, and obviously it's well getting out that car parks and eating and nighting here,
yeah,
as well. It also depends on the kickoff time as well,
yeah. 'Cause
but like, um, but, like as well, though, like also like the game tomorrow, so up at Aberdeen, and then and we've got another week after of so it's kinda helped me, yeah, actually, if that
good.
something in that like and it would have been like a oh, I sort of is anyway. So it's given me something to focus on in the East Archbase.
Oh, good man. Yeah, me
Basically.
too, mate. Because like I said, there was a rare window of opportunity where I had like I never get a Saturday off normally, and just the way my work schedule worked out, it was like I've got
Yeah,
that, and then little ones at her mum, so I've got literally the whole day. And I was thinking, SummerSlam's coming up. I haven't done a wrestling stream with Daniel for ages. Right, let's get this penciled in. Get the strike while the iron's hot, as I mentioned before. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
yeah,
It's also got me watching wrestling again, like old wrestling, which I always like going back and doing. So yeah, so thank you, mate. I'll always appreciate coming on here.
yeah, and just before we get our shout outs, I would actually like to say to whoever's running the WWE Network page, can they actually fix the actual
Yeah, sort it out.
yeah, but because it's so confusing as a mess if it ain't but rope don't fix it, sort it out,
Yeah,
and it's horrid to navigate.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was fine before, but now like you have to basically manually search for anything that you want. Whereas before it was like
yeah,
it had your categories. Like if you wanted to search pay per view, go on to say SummerSlam for example, and then it would have the list of all the SummerSlams. But now it only goes back for to like 2010 or something, and then you've got to search for it and just everything.
yeah,
It just doesn't look appealing anymore. And I don't know whether they're trying to copy maybe YouTube's layout or whatever. But yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, mate. Just do you think they're really good at making video packages and presenting themselves well on the show? So you think they could implement that on their network, especially if you're paying for it every month? You know what I mean?
yeah. Um, y- yeah, yeah, and it is still a pretty, it is still a pretty of us to have. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a hand service to have because it's less than a hard, and you're not going
Yeah.
and you're not going to out the arse or beat is what just to get all the if obvious. So having and on is being helpful. To be honest,
Yeah, it's definitely, especially if you're looking for something that you haven't got like on physical media, you can just search for it and it's there. So they have, in that respect, they're pretty good. But yeah, just sort out the aesthetics, please. Titan Towers,
yeah.
if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got the article out the way. Thanks, Sean, for coming on, and can you give me your shout outs for for our the YouTube channel you're involved in, and obviously if you want to shout out your I don't know what you call it now, X or mm,
Exeter, I'll just
whatever.
call it
Yeah,
Twitter. Bollocks, really, isn't it?
yeah.
Thank you I really appreciate it, mate. Like I've been looking forward to this ever since we talked about doing it in the first place. So thank you very much for
Yeah,
that. And again, apologies it's been so long since the last one, but as you're aware, life and all its tribulations get in the way of that. But I'm happy
yeah.
to have done this, and like you say, I think this is probably the best one we've done. It seems more sort of succinct and focused, but also with a flow to it. So it's a nice one. Yeah. So much appreciated. Hopefully, we can do the one that you were talking about us doing a while back, the Vengeance.
On the Vengeance in 2001, here Jericho broke an innocent
Yeah.
year old boy's
Yeah.
heart by beating his two favourites in the and also as well, Jericho, you've done right. Oh, Jerry, us
Yeah, that
channel
was.
one, so I know I'm on here if if Ian on because you have yeah all guys to the section, who
Exactly.
boy's heart that you broke. So yeah, so continue, but if your shout outs I interrupt you
No, no.
again, sorry.
Yeah. No, so I'm sure from the Nerdaholic. So we talk about all sorts of sort of pop culture, nerdy, reacting to really bad but good movies like Sharknado and shit like that. And we do gaming streams. We do painting streams for Warhammer 40k. Harry's like the leader and master of that particular one. And we go into like all sorts of M- MCU, DC, all that fun jazz. While most of the time heavily intoxicated. Sometimes we're not, but most of the time we are. Uh, yeah, so
Yeah.
pretty much cover a wide spectrum of topics. So yeah, just come in and have a look and see what you think. And yeah, cheers.
And you should actually bring back the Rambo. Oh, cast enjoyed the last Rambo cast as well. I think the three of you, um, John, obviously, yourself, have kind of like, ish, like, the good and together.
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh, and yeah, I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the last Ramblecast as well. Hell, partly because I accidentally eh, um hijacked the last
Oh, that was
one
fine.
in the chat
Yeah,
and
welcome on anytime. I mean, it's funny
chat.
because we have like a roster of five of us now. So we sometimes, depending on each other's availability, it might be me, Tom, and Harry, or it could be me, Jack, and Rob, or it could be Jack and Tom, but in whatever guise it is, it's still us basically doing what we love doing, which is talking about stuff we enjoy, and sometimes ripping to shit stuff that we don't enjoy. But most of the time, it's enjoy. It's talking we do like. Uh, so yeah, have a look and see what you think. And yeah, once again, thank you very much, Daniel, for this. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I don't know what the next bit of content is. I'll be in the channel because I've kind of put the Birmingham City um is career mode on hiatus because it's been
Right.
in an abs because it's been an absolute disaster. Or if you've actually you see if you've
Listen,
actually seen that.
keep going,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, so I'll maybe bring that back at
Do
some
it.
point. I'll do some chill streams with Charlotte because we have been talking about doing some chill streams. And yeah, right now though, because we have been reviewing a lot of BBC shows and what
Yeah.
have you, I think it's important that we put that. we put that on hiatus for a bit, and I've spoken to Charlotte behind the scenes about that, and she's been really understanding about that because right now, right now with the various things at the BBC, I just don't feel that it's right that actually speak about any projects on that,
Yeah,
and I've actually said to and I've actually said to that in on my pre-record for the was, but it'd be a direct rest and think so. I think it's important to address it, but obviously here's the as you saw, but um as you saw as well, after the little ass outstream we actually he spoke about a whole bunch of things. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's
so
always to
yeah,
navigate around and talk about
um,
solve those
um,
wankers.
um, so yeah, and the devils, my, yeah, and the was, are, as of ancient, actually encouraged me to start inviting you on for these streams well, because I didn't actually know what to do. I didn't actually know what to do with the channel after the time is children. Then I was all over I was all over the place with the channel and the behind the scenes and what have you, but she's actually suggested that I do these streams, and she suggested some chill streams and some more streams as well behind the scenes. So half the direction of the channels actually came from Charlotte, to be quite honest. And you can follow me, and you can follow me on X. I was it's all apparently it's out at the annual 20th on that platform. I talked in about I talked mainly about wrestling and about my football and about my football team. So if you're in any of that, or if you want to keep up to date with the channel post everything you see on the channel on up pages well because because YouTube is about with all the notifications and yeah it's the it's just a hub the most of it well but thanks everybody that joined me in the chat and keep your eyes peeled and for and from us off on the channel. And again, Sean, thanks for coming on, and we'll do this again. Oh yeah, and before I go, actually, if you'd actually, if you actually would like to subscribe to the channel, if I ever hit 1,000 subscribers, order myself by talking about the WrestleMania 11 Iron Man and match. I
Would it
know
be soon
stay
later?
I know stay if Sean's available because I know he's a massive fan of that, but that's it's overrated. The shape, but anyway, really is. But yeah, so yeah, if you would like to see a Scotsman Archer and himself, um, subscribe and make sure I hit 1,000 subscribers. Do all the I do all this or you guys in the chat and everybody that supports me and all my social media is and Sean again. I've I've pleasure as always and I'll try
Pleasure's
and
all
I'll try
you.
and I'll try yeah and of a sex but I'm going to end the stream here because because the chat I know today or is not or in so so I'll have to get in touch with StreamYard again. So I'll end it here. Thanks for everybody that tuned in and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Cheers, guys.
Uh,
Yeah.